And for participating to this session on cloud security. Yeah, I finally see the room. Sorry, we are still having a little bit of a last-minute technical issue. As I said, I am Alessandro Lazzari and I'm a senior key account manager at F24. I'm really glad to be here. I'm thankful to the certCO for giving me this opportunity and this great privilege to moderate this session. Today, I will be sharing the floor in this cloud security session with 5 distinguished experts. I will be with Mr. Christian Sandescu, that is the Chief Executive Officer of Coda Intelligence, Mr. Adrian Victor Vevera, General Director of the National Institute for Research and Development in Informatics, Mr. Vladimir Ester, CTO of Cluster Power, Eugene Razen from Cloud Solution Architect Security and Compliance at Microsoft, and Mr. Pierre Grunlier, Chief Technology Officer at GaiaX. It's a pleasure to be with you on stage today. I think we have 1.5 hours together for discussing the topic of cloud security. I'll be moderating the session, therefore, in a nutshell, providing you the floor for 10 minutes introductory speech each. When it's almost 2 minutes before the end of your initial presentation, I will be showing the pen, just to let you know how long it is remaining for your speech. Of course, we are expecting a number of question and answers from the floor, so please fire a wheel from the chat. I will be, during the speech, collecting the question directed to the distinguished experts that are part of the panel today, and then we will discuss them together, in the last 30 minutes of this session. Before proceeding with that, I would like just to make a very short introductory speech that is based on fact. Of course, cloud is trending. Companies are relying on one or many different providers. They are also working out complexities in, relying on hybrid solution, multi-cloud, and this also calls for, further expertise to be developed internal to companies, in order to tackle properly this issue. Of course, they are concerned with the, security-related issue. According to Fortinet, misconfiguration, exfiltration of sensitive data, and authorized access are among the, top 3 areas of concern, according to the interviewers that were contacted by them for the 2021 Cloud Security Report. But of course, cloud constitutes a huge advantages for company because they can accelerate time to market, they can increase their responsiveness to customer. Of course, they can save money. But as I said, they are facing a number of challenges. Among them, of course, the developing the capabilities in properly deploying and managing complex solution. So therefore, reducing the complexity from their side, and understanding how these different solutions they rely on can fit together, and of course, as always, ensuring data protection for each and every environment. So this is in a nutshell, a little bit of facts regarding, the current status of cloud. Of course, after the speech, I will have myself some of the questions, for the experts that are together with me on stage today. And among those, for sure, I would like to discuss some aspects of, the Cybersecurity Act and the upcoming changes also in the certification in that area. But it's now time for, for giving you the floor. I would like, to first of all, pass the floor to Mr. Adrian Victor Vevera, General Director of the National Institute for Research and Development in Informatics. Victor, thanks for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. You hear me? Yeah? Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for your invitation. It's a great honor and a pleasure to be here with you, because first certCON was organized by me, and now it's 11th edition. And I want to congratulate the actual team for CERT, because starting this month, our new DNSC chair, something very good for our cybersecurity environment, and it's a natural moving to become like a real force. We discussed today in this panel about cybersecurity in cloud computing. And for this idea, I want to ask one of my colleagues, it's Dragos Barbu, is Chief of Cloud Computing Department here in ICI, to have a short presentation. And after, I want to present a little movie together with Gabriel Raicu, it's Prorector for Research of Maritime University of Constanța, and President of the Cybersecurity Cluster of Excellence. It's a project where EC is a part, and it's, I think, very good model for what we discuss about cybersecurity in cloud computing. First, I ask Dragos Barbu to present about cybersecurity in cloud computing. Dragos Barbu, Chief of Department for Cloud Computing in the National Institute for Research and Development in Informatics. Please, Dragos.
Good morning to you all. I'll start sharing my presentation. Please tell me if you can see it. It's okay? Okay. We here have implemented through post-CCE project cloud infrastructure. It's implemented over 6 years ago, and through that we can offer infrastructure as a service, cloud services for client institutions. For over a year, it's in commercial use now, and we can provide this kind of services to whoever wants, and like I said, in a commercial sense. I will talk about public cloud security. According to cloud security reports for Fortinet and Azure, 73% of organizations are extremely concerned about cloud security. And as a strategy deployment, more than most organizations are pursuing hybrid or multi-cloud strategy. As you can see in these reports, they are planning to commit the legacy application and traditional data center, but mostly are using 2 or more cloud providers. As a benefits, I think most of you already know that the flexibility, capacity, agility, and availability. Also as moving expenses from CapEx to OpEx and accelerating time to market. As barriers to adoption the cloud, 53% of respondents have said that lack of visibility is one of them, lack of staff resources, which is very, very high, and high costs. Also, general risk, data security, and loss are one of the barriers to adopt cloud. As popular cloud providers, Azure has, according to Fortinet report, has 73%, Microsoft Azure, Amazon 70%, and Google Cloud 37%. For cloud security concerns, despite the increased security measures that we took also on our infrastructure, cloud users are ultimately responsible for securing their own workloads in the cloud. So the most significant challenges are data loss, data privacy and confidentiality, and accidental exposure of credentials. These are the most important one, according to these reports. For biggest cloud security threats, also from these reports, are the misconfiguration of the cloud platforms, exfiltration of sensitive data, and insecure interfaces and APIs for these cloud platforms. We have infrastructure, virtual infrastructure can be created for any client in a secure location. It's built on a high-performance hardware structure. Its architecture have router, firewalls, and security filters. We are providing a pool of resources in the form of virtual machines, redundant power supply, connectivity through our network, and self-provision services for our clients. In this infrastructure, we have totaling 2,240 cores, a storage about 432 terabytes, and 10 giga connection. The scalability and within this is dedicated on a hardware infrastructure, so we have good service level agreement for these services. As services for this, we also have technical support and backup. We can offer services of enterprise content management, and of course, infrastructure as a service cloud. As a conclusion related to cloud security, despite the rapid adoption of cloud, security remains a primary issue for our customers. Most organizations are pursuing a hybrid or multi-cloud strategy. Multi-cloud environments and complexity are security challenges. According to cybersecurity professionals, 9 out of 10 confirm that they are extremely to moderate concern about public cloud security, and the misconfiguration of cloud remains the top concern. There is a shift now in the cloud security to attacking cloud accounts instead of cloud resources, according to Checkpoint report. Now I give floor to Mr. Vivera.
Thank you, Dragos. Now I invite Mr. Gabriel Raicu to present our project, Cybersecurity Cluster of Excellence. It's a short movie and some words. Please, Mr. Raicu.
We live in a responsible society. CISCO, Cybersecurity Cluster of Excellence. Because Romania has huge resources of creativity, a cluster for excellence, an example for society, a present for a future in continuous transformation. Again, why CISCO? Because Romania must position itself as a leader in the global cybersecurity industry. We advocate for a private-public academic partnership and the cooperation of cybersecurity capabilities. CISCO advocates for a secure national education system, for a system that ensures equal opportunities, a system capable of making the transition from student to employee and employer a functional ecosystem. We are different members here with different skills brought by each one: offensive, defensive capabilities, AI, disinformation, inter-threat intelligence, software development, and much more. We have launched a series of innovative projects such as cyber awareness educational for public institutions, anti-disinformation using artificial intelligence, research and development for the new cyber technologies. Join now CISCO to be a part of a bigger mechanism that drives the industry forward. Support the development of a partnership that can put Romania on the security map.
We think it was a good idea to present this cluster because we are together with Maritime University from Constanța and another company working in cybersecurity. It's a conference about cybersecurity under certCON11 organization, and we think it's important for everybody to know all about initiative in this area, because just together we can make better environment in cybersecurity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, for the conclusion that you have drawn that are for sure of interest for the stakeholders that are connected to this event, and for the video. I will now pass on the floor to Mr. Vladimir Ester, CTO of Cluster Power. Mr. Ester, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Hello everyone. First of all, I want to thank our hosts for inviting us here to speak in this panel. So it is a great pleasure for me to present our view and our vision regarding cloud security. So I have a presentation that I'm going to share with you today that will briefly go through the current status quo, through the trends and challenges of cloud security. And in the second part, I will be presenting some solutions that Cluster Power is bringing in the regional market of cloud solutions. So I don't know if you can see my presentation. Perfect.
Unfortunately not.
Let's see.
Yeah, we can see your presentation.
Perfect. So a couple of words about Cluster Power. Cluster Power is a Romanian company, a technology company that has been dealing with infrastructure projects and innovative solutions with tailored projects for multiple verticals, as well as end-to-end managed services. And we have been starting a really big project a couple of years ago. It's related to the region's most scalable and powerful data center campus. It's actually a technology campus situated near Craiova in southern part of Romania. That it will be the first data center connected directly to high voltage, to the most resilient power supply in Romania. We're talking about a capacity of 200 megawatts. So basically, it will become the first hyperscale project in our region. So moving towards our topic for today, I want to present a bit the current status quo of cloud security. The reality is that in the past 2 years, statistics are showing that almost 90% of today's data has been created in the past 2 years. Data currently is everywhere, and the more the companies are trying to connect with their customers and with their partners, the more their data is spread around their physical environments as well as the cloud solutions that they are using. So even if we are talking about private data centers or IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS solutions, those data and the APIs and the applications that are being used are enlarging the surface of the possible attacks. So there is a big challenge because the companies want to expand their reach, but at the same time they are trying to contend possible attacks. Another reality of moving towards a hybrid cloud environment is related to the shared responsibility of the security of the infrastructure. Unfortunately, most or some companies believe that once they are moving to cloud, all of their problems will be solved, that it is entirely the cloud's responsibility to secure their data and their applications. The reality is that they're moving to a shared responsibility environment in which usually the cloud service provider is ensuring the security of compute, storage, connectivity solutions, while the organization is in charge of securing its data, its hosts, its users, and why not, its endpoint devices. So let's see next, what were the challenges and trends during this pandemic period? So first of all, regarding the DDoS trends, we have seen quite a large increase in the number of attacks for DDoS, so roughly 5 times during the pandemic. So this was a big challenge towards the accessibility of services and platforms mostly for companies that had to go into a full remote work scenario. I don't know if this is actually working, so maybe you can help us a bit. Thank you. So another interesting type of attack that we have seen during the pandemic was actually the ransom notes. So it was actually an attack in which companies received an email telling them that DDoS attack is on their way. Actual details regarding the volumetry and type of attack were sent during the email, and obviously at the end of it, some addresses for sending some bitcoins in order for preventing the attack. So it was a kind of very polite way of targeting a company. If the previous attack was, let's say, more polite, this is a very critical trend that we are seeing, and it's actually a very hot topic at the moment. And actually, it's the operational technology infrastructure security issues. In the US currently, there's a big discussion revolving around killware. And even though I'm not, I do not like conspiracy theories, but Gartner predicts that by 2025, cyber attackers will have weaponized operational technology environments. And this is quite critical. That being said, attacks on OT environments are not actually, where the OT is not actually the objective, but the means of the attack. So this is quite important, I believe, and we should definitely take a closer look to where this is heading. Going back to denial of service attacks, the trends for this are showing that the volume of the attacks is decreasing, so we are seeing less volumetric attacks, but the attacks are increasing in complexity and sophistication. That being said, the average number of vectors that are being used is increasing on the one hand, and on the other hand, we're seeing that most of the attacks are shifting towards layer 7 rather than layer 3 and layer 4. So this is why protecting against DDoS is becoming challenging. It's difficult to understand good traffic versus bad traffic. Also, because of the spread of the data, there are multiple vulnerable points that we need to protect. The sophistication and niched targeted attacks are becoming more complex, while the DDoS and the tools used by hacker groups to launch this kind of attacks are becoming increasingly available. So I was referring earlier about sophistication and complexity. And this is quite an interesting slide because it's kind of like trying to figure out the driver that is causing the jam in this picture. So this is what we're up against. Imagine that you have a cloud environment in which you have thousands and thousands of tenants, of applications and use cases. And DDoS attacks are being targeted towards a single, very specific use case. So what do we need in order to prevent such attacks? Well, first of all, we need to increase our intelligence. And one of the trends in the solutions that are being used are seeing that we're moving from legacy and static vector definitions in attacks towards machine learning fueled and artificial intelligence powered solutions. So basically, the DDoS appliances are learning from the normal traffic behavior and are adapting in case of an attack rather than just specifying static numbers. So what are the solutions that are being provided by Cluster Power in order to, let's say, react to these new trends? So we are looking at unified platforms that offer both advanced application and data breach prevention with consistent protection across locations and clouds, because we see this hybrid multi-cloud environment becoming more and more used, as well as integrating artificial intelligence into the management and orchestration platforms. So we are protecting the cloud workloads together with our partners. For the next generation firewall solution, we have partnered up with Palo Alto in order to prevent threats and data theft, to work on application visibility and do workload segmentation in order to better understand the application behavior and how to prevent attacks on different endpoints, as well as having a platform that centrally manages and automates the deployments. So this is the overall picture of the solutions that are and the solutions that are being used in the partnership that we have with Palo Alto. So we are looking at application ID that provides application across all ports in the virtual environments, URL filtering, advanced threat protection that is capable of challenging hackers that are using zero-day attacks, access control and centralized security management into a single platform. Last but not least, I want to present to you shortly our anti-DDoS solution as a service. It's actually a multi-tiered environment that we have created in partnership with F5. So basically what we are providing is a perimeter protection layer that is protecting our cloud and our customers from L3 and L4 floods and scans and DNS targeted attacks. We are using a large cluster of Viprion devices that is capable of scaling and protecting the environment from the most vicious volumetric attacks. Also, we are deploying advanced web application firewall solutions also with F5 to protect against layer 7 attacks, and those are positioned closer to the application and where the tunnels are being ended. And at the end, the third layer is regarding let's say our own scrubbing center. So this is a large capacity network environment that is separated from the main cloud, that is capable of providing an umbrella for our customers in case their own environments are not well suited for the attacks. At the end, the solutions are quite vast, and we have tried to offer a very flexible approach that is able to meet the demands of our customers. So we have the capability of deploying the solutions in a virtual environment by using different type of licenses and protecting various traffic capacities, as well as our own physical environment built on top of Viprion boxes that is able to scale to quite high number and to protect a large bandwidth. At the end, we can construct for our customers a hybrid environment in which we deploy both the virtual and the physical instances. Now, I have spoken about flexibility. The main idea is that all of our cloud solutions are being protected in the public tenant, so against best practices of securing the cloud, but also we have the possibility to create bespoke solutions for more demanding customers. So that was my presentation. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know that the time was over. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your insights. I'm quite concerned of weaponization of OT. I think is a very interesting topic that we may also further discuss later on in this session. Then our next presenter is Mr. Eugen Ruzen from Microsoft. Mr. Ruzen, the floor is yours. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, everyone. Bună dimineața. I'm Eugen Ruzen. I'm leading a team of solution architects for security, compliance, and identity across Central and Eastern Europe. Our goal for today is actually to discuss about where we are, where do we see ourselves in terms of the market maturity, and where we are heading. So I'm going to start off by introducing to you two reports. The first one, and please help me, Cybersecurity Trends report was released for Central and Eastern Europe based on a study of our customers in Central and Eastern Europe in 2020. This is a very important study, in my opinion, because it reflects exactly where we are at this stage. And still, I believe we have a false sense of security at this stage, because look where we are in terms of satisfaction, in terms of what we do have today. That's clearly a deterrent for what we're looking for, the true security purpose, and satisfaction is actually hindering what we want to achieve today, right? So we always need to find that balance between the actual productivity and the security that we want to achieve. Now, if we are going to the next slide, we are going to realize that the situation is even worse, that actually the visibility in the security part is actually something that we miss a lot. So if you look onto the second column, 23% of our CE enterprise customers said that they have never encountered the breach in 2020. And we know that this is not true. We know that in majority of cases, this is directly pointing to a miss of visibility. In Romania, it's even worse as a market, and this is 32%, is highly concerning for us. And we have a duty as a hyperscale cloud provider, which you have seen a couple of reports from our security ISV partners. We need to provide this clarity. We need to provide this understanding where we are, what are the challenges that we are facing together, sit together into communities like this and openly discuss how we can improve. Right, now the second study that I wanted to discuss, and this was released actually in the Cybersecurity Month, right, in October 2021. So it's a very fresh study. This is actually the Microsoft Defense, Digital Defense Report. If we go here, actually you're going to see how deep we can go in terms of what we have learned worldwide. We, as being the #1 certified security cloud provider, we have a duty to cover all of these topics and create clarity, create communities, and openly discuss about how we can work on these accountabilities together. And I will cover, because I have roughly 15 to 20 minutes to cover all of this. I can follow up with you if you have a deeper interest in any of the topics. But most important, you can download this free of charge from the website. Just search for it. If you do receive the presentation, there's a pointer in it. I believe there are a couple of very interesting points that we need to work on. So first of all, we need to look into how Microsoft is investing into this cybersecurity area, right? We are planning to invest more than $20 billion over the next 5 years. So this is massive investment from our side. When I joined Microsoft, we had around 3,000 security experts. Now we have almost triple the number. So that happened in the last 2 years. That proves actually the value that we are bringing to the market, to our customers, to the way we work with our partners, to the way we develop our Microsoft Intelligent Security Association. And I'm really happy that one of our partners is with us today, Christy. We have discussed about the shared responsibility model. So all of these are coming together to better understand how we can help our world to really become a safer place for all of us. Now, the next thing that I want to cover is a couple of the chapters and really some highlights. If we look into the nation-state attacks, right? I know that's a hot topic for everyone. So if you can help me out to move to the next slide, that would help, please. Thanks. And here you see already something that we learned over the last couple of months, if not years, that the majority of attacks, thank you so much, are still coming out from countries like Russia and North Korea. So that was still expected, I would say, but new players are coming in, and some of them are reflected into this journey, like Vietnam and Turkey, and clear use cases are referenced. So please take a look on that one and see actually how ransomware is shifting actually from the enterprise business to the consumer business, because especially the SMB market is the one that often is not actually using those protected tools. Now, if we go actually to the next one, we are seeing some insights, deeper insights into the ransomware data and signals. And there are a couple of hygiene in terms of security best practices that can be used at any point of time. For example, the backup recovery plan, which is not necessarily security, but part of a good planning. I believe Cristiano is going to cover that as well. And we're looking into this massive growth of trajectory and how this ransomware as a service is even being used, right? In short, if you use principles like zero trust, there's no zero trust solution. There are always principles and frameworks that we can follow. We at Microsoft, we developed cloud adoption framework, well-architectured framework that are inclusive of security to show you how we cover all of these concepts in greater depth. Now, if we're switching actually to what are our recommendations, right? Is actually to focus on the minutes matter, because looking in terms of the efficiency for any breach that is happening, an exfiltration can happen in a couple of minutes, but a breach can be detected in a couple of days. If not, we are seeing still some reports from last year, for example, median time to detect a breach in an enterprise environment was 320 days, which is massive, right? So you see the full circle here. We believe it's not only about technology, and we are going to talk about people and digital empathy, user training, adoption and change management. So these are all part of what we do and the ecosystem that we provide. Now here, starting a bit into the nation-state attacks, you have to look into how the geopolitical situation is for us, for the countries that we are living in, where the attacks are heading and what's the reason behind it, what's the purpose behind it, right? It can be espionage, it can be surveillance, but in majority of cases it's a deeper, if not just focus on the wider intelligence. And what we do at Microsoft, so we have various departments that are fighting with the cybercrime. One of them is the digital crime unit. So over the last 3 years, we have sent almost 20,500 times notifications to our customers on specific nation-state attacks. That proves actually the value that our threat intelligence is bringing to the market, not only for our customers, but also for our partners and the ecosystem, like the NSC, CertRO, and other Cert organizations, which are receiving this free of charge from Microsoft. Now, what we do going forward, we actually look into what's coming next, right? We all know that majority of attacks are originated from big countries, big players like Russia, China, North Korea, and so on and so forth. But look what's coming, Vietnam, Turkey. So new players are coming in and developing their own intelligence into this cybersecurity war that we are facing, right? So a word of caution is how this dynamic is switching actually into the space of supply chain integrity. And if you've seen the latest, I would say, major breaches, incidents happening even last year, right, that hugely affected large government entities, oil and gas entities, and so on and so forth, it started actually from supply chain, and it didn't start from a single vendor or from a single supplier, but affected the full ecosystem end to end. So supply chain integrity is something very relevant to us. We are acquiring cybersecurity startups and solid cybersecurity players in the market, like CyberX, for example, to go deeper into OT security and IoT security. So this is all part of our ecosystem, and this is proving already our value from Microsoft Defender for IoT. Now, going forward, and
we have 1 minute.
Yes, thank you. So I just need a bit more time, like 5 minutes, to cover these topics as agreed. So thanks for appreciating this. The zero trust is highly important for especially for OT and IoT security, where we need to look into basic principles like enforcing multi-factor authentication, which effectively is reducing with 99.9% the success rate of an attack on identity. And identity for Microsoft is at the control plane for security, is paramount for us. Now, going forward, the threat landscape, you see exactly where Romania sits right now. It is growing, unfortunately, into the overall threat landscape. And I would say that we have seen actually when we nailed down actually the TrickBot malware attacks, we have seen a lot of TrickBot C2 routers being infected in Romania with a very high volume. Now, one of the last topic that I want to cover off is how we are doing with basically the hybrid workforce. Hybrid is here to stay, remote work is here to stay. So something that we all see, and the key takeaway for all of us is to implement this cybersecurity hygiene. So keep your applications up to date, enforce MFA, patch all the time, create that consistency end to end, and don't be satisfied with your security unless you understand that security is part of your business assessment. Now, moving forward, we're actually showing you some statistics on how we did it internally, right, and to adopting this hybrid workforce at Microsoft, and how we are addressing this. So zero trust, we are treating it as a framework across all the digital estate. And just to give you a single example, so starting from the identities, again, that's the core of our security, going up to the data, including endpoints and so on and so forth, If you look into a general kill chain attack, you are seeing how all of our solution create this cross visibility is not only the best of breed of each of individual solution, but the full integration not only internally with our internal tools, and also with the platform security services that our security ISV providers are building on top of us. So this is the full ecosystem. Now, I want to end with a couple of pointers for you. First of all, the empathy is imperative in this current situation, so it's outside of COVID as well. People are utterly important in all that we do. AI, although that we focus a lot on ethical AI and machine learning, this is not everything. We need to treat people and put them at the center of what we do in terms of cybersecurity. Some actionable insights that we want to bring to you through this report is the rise of this digital empathy. We need to work and collaborate as a community. We need to focus on simple yet very sufficient and powerful principles like zero trust. We need to focus on the full integrated end-to-end security, not with a single security provider, which we know it is an ideal case, but work as a community and provide the best option for the customers. Now, something that we all need to keep in mind, by covering this bell curve, 98% of the protection will always be covered if we keep to the basic principles of protecting your assets the way we should. Now, I would like to thank you for this time. I would want to highlight also the diversity of our cybersecurity teams that are working internally and externally. And you see here the joint efforts coming from all the Microsoft cybersecurity teams that are working, starting from legal and going even into the detection and the response team. And finalize with an invitation to you to actually join the free virtual training days. So you get free vouchers, free exams for the fundamental cybersecurity certification. We believe security should be free in terms of learning for all of us, right? You have free access to our security webinars, to the learning that Microsoft.com, where you can even get what we call the level 400 deep engineering level understanding of security tools, and we call that ninja trainings. And with that one, I'd like to thank you. I know that I was a bit over time, but I believe this is a joint effort. We need to reflect on where we are and where we are heading, and keep this collaboration coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosen. Thank you very much for the very interesting insight. It's okay, we are running somehow on time, and we will have also some other time for question and answers. Some questions are coming already. In the meanwhile, we leave the floor to Mr. Cristian Sandescu, that is the Chief Executive Officer of CODA-Intelligence. Mr. Sandescu, thanks for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you and physically. I am the founder and CEO of CODA-Intelligence, and we build a security intelligence platform designed specifically for SecOps. It's a cloud-native platform. And for today, I really want to share with you some of the challenges that we've seen with our customers. We're extremely focused on the CE and the United States, so I really want to go through some of these. I really want to go through some of these challenges and show you how we approach them, and open up for Q&A, because I think it's going to be a very interactive discussion, especially following the things that my colleagues in the panel have said so far. So I don't really want to bother you too much with the statistics. I really want to start with the fact that my feeling, and which is coming from our partner ecosystem, is that we're living in a time of war. So the only thing that rose as much as Bitcoin in the last throughout this pandemic were cyber attacks. I don't know if they're linked or not, but as Eugene was saying earlier, 98% protection could be covered by some very basic, and I mean basic, hygiene things. this was also touched by one of my colleagues earlier. We're still seeing a huge amount of time, 300 days, between identifying and isolating a data breach. That's in my opinion, that's unacceptable, should I say, for today's days. So what we're seeing in the cloud is we're seeing people are really polarized. They're polarized either on thinking that cloud is inherently secure and there's nothing we need to do about that, or the other part of them is lending towards we don't really trust the cloud because we don't control things, we don't see that. And I don't want to say somebody's right or wrong, because I think at certain stages both of them could be right, but not at the same time. So really, how things developed in the last years since we've got cloud adoption led to some significant breaches. I think they're really massive. I mean, Yahoo lost 3 billion accounts. LinkedIn this summer, through a very simple scraping technique, right, script kiddie technique, lost 500 million accounts, right, scrapped. Facebook, they got 5 billion in penalties for the data leak in 2019, and the list goes on. So we've got, what could we do about that? So what's the market practice, right? So we've got, according to Gartner, right, we've got cloud workload protection platforms that are across the stack, the entire stack, starting with the very simple ones, and I really want to focus on those, and then going to the more advanced exploit detection, anti-exfiltration, anti-malware, XDR, all those things, right? What we do at Coda is we offer a platform that continuously monitors and ensures compliance to our customers, so that they know at every moment in time where they are and what they need to be doing. So I want to introduce you the use case of continuous cloud compliance, and actually talk about 3 challenges that we're seeing and how we're supporting our partners in fixing those. So challenge number 1 is the shared responsibility model, and this is extremely important because the cloud providers are offering a lot of tools that people can use and that they should use, but it's a business decision whether you enforce MFA. It's a business decision whether you do or not patching, and what the patching cadence is, right? So Gartner estimates that in a couple of years we'll have 99% of the issues coming from at the customer's fault, which is why we need to work with those customers and help them understand what needs to be done. How can they use the tools that are provided by the cloud platforms to actually do that? For example, one of our larger partners has around 100,000 server workloads in the cloud, and they're providing SaaS services to their customers, or PaaS services to their customers. One of their largest challenges that they have is still patch management. So that comes in the responsibility of the customer, and it's very difficult for them to enforce that. There's no way to enforce that. It's really the customer needs to provision the downtime and do all those basic hygiene things that we're talking about to fix those patching. So even we're in the cloud, copy-pasting things from on-prem is not going to work. It's simply not going to work. So things need to change. The second challenge where we work with our partners is in terms of agility and time to market, because going in the cloud means that things will happen much, much faster and can happen faster. That's one of the main reasons why we're going there. That means the dynamic of the threats that you are exposed to as a customer in the cloud is also changing very, very rapidly. This is why we have built the cloud-native platform that is real-time and continuously checking for those threats and actually showing that insight in real time to the SecOps teams that need to answer very, very quickly. And the last point and challenge that we're seeing in the cloud journey, let's call it, is visibility, right? So the multi-cloud, the adoption of new technologies, combinations of on-prem and then IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, which are very different flavors, are making cloud security very difficult to be measured. our goal and our mission as a company is to help those customers really understand the risks that they're exposed to as they change dynamically. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed for your presentation, Mr. Sandescu. Thank you very much for your insight. I guess one of the speaker is having difficulty in reaching, in person your room. So I see no reason why we shouldn't start, the Q&A now, and therefore leave some minutes for him. He will be joining soon. Okay, so I will start from a question from the floor. I have some myself, but I have a question from Mr. Dan Chimpian, the director of CERTRO. The question is, what suggestions do you have towards starting or continuing an open and fair discussion with decision makers in order to address the concern that cybersecurity is just a cost and that cyber teams are just a cost centers? The floor is yours. Who would like to answer to this question?
I can start. So, Eugene Rusen from Microsoft. I think the cooperation should start actually from the intent, actually to foster and not to hinder actually the digital transformation and include security as part of that journey. So once we define that, okay, so we want to include security into our business decisions and bottom up and not top down, when we do those sort of assessments, the discussions are a lot easier. Now, what we do, and I don't think we are alone in this journey, we create a lot of awareness campaigns, trainings, virtual training days, to create the required awareness not only about the technology itself, because technology is constantly changing, but on the way we need to interact with it and make the business logic decisions around it. And that applies not only for public cloud providers, but also for private cloud providers. And the way we need to look into this visibility holistically and deployment of tools and the real-time compliance and assessment based on the requirements that we're gathering at that stage through multiple iterations, multiple meetings and deciding the milestones in a very transparent way.
Thanks very much. Any other answer from our panelists?
Yes, so I believe that the key word into this is cooperation, is co-petition. We stand here together at the table speaking about the trends, the challenges, and our solutions, but at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. And I believe that it is very encouraging that during these pandemic times, what we've learned, not only as IT specialists or companies, but as humans, is that together we are stronger, that we need to do things, we do things easier if we are united. Turning IT from a cost to a benefit has always been a challenge for IT specialists. And I think that all of you that come from a technical and have a technical background had at least one discussion with a senior manager explaining them why they should buy a firewall or upgrade their network. And the reply was always, we don't have time and money for this. So we know the challenge, but I believe that we are facing very difficult times that has made us very aware on the challenges of not being resilient. We are seeing really interesting and increase in the awareness created by institutions, both national and European, regarding resilience. And in IT, resilience means how you can face the challenges of cyber attacks, how you can be more powerful in the face of any kind of disaster. So I believe that the managers and the business leaders we'll find an easier way to understand and put it in action.
Thank you very much indeed. Any other insight on this topic of discussion?
I'd like to add just a few words on basically the cyber cost. Since I joined the industry, it's been extremely difficult for us in the industry to calculate the TCO of a cybersecurity investment, right? So it's very difficult to say what happens if I do something about it and what would it cost if I don't do something about it. And I think it is our duty as specialists in the field to work with the management and collaborate and cooperate to help them really understand what needs to be done and why. And also, I highly appreciate, and I think it's amazing that we're making important steps in the compliance, because I think that raises a lot of awareness.
Thank you very much indeed. Any other comment on this? Okay, I don't think so. While I invite, of course, the public in raising question in the chat or raising hand. We're really happy to receive your question. I would like to bring the discussion on Together We Are Stronger. I think that the union has done a lot in the last years for creating a community of experts around the main initiative that are trying to improve the security of our daily business, and the digital single market and so on and so forth. I myself witnessed the work done in the ad hoc working group for the EU Common Criteria scheme under the Cybersecurity Act. We all know that also a cloud scheme is in the work. First draft has been already published. Implementation act are expected next year. I'm really curious to discuss with you what are your expectancies on the certification of cloud under the Cybersecurity Act, how you see it, what opportunities are there, what challenges are there. So really to hear a little bit from the community that has been created around the cloud scheme, and what are your opinion on this?
If I can start, we are fully aware of our importance as from Microsoft Azure standpoint, that we are growing into European Communion. We are looking into establishing a baseline of all the regulation and certifications that we want to proceed with. We continue to stay the #1 certified cloud provider, and that is fully transparent. If you go to Trust Portal, that Microsoft.com, you have full visibility into all of that. We highly encourage the standardization and collaboration into improving and strengthening those standards, and there's a full support from Microsoft, not only from the CE team, but I think a lot of good work is done at Brussels with our team there. But most importantly, we need to sit and understand what are the requirements, what are the actual challenges that we are seeing in order to develop those regulations, in order to capture the feedback from our customers on what they are seeing, what they are struggling with, and where we are heading in terms of maybe the technology is advancing a bit too much compared to where we are today. So a bit of balancing those while continuing to improve on the regulation, I think, is really important for all of us.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, so yeah, I totally agree with what was said earlier about this, and I think that a very good example of the trend and where this cooperation between institutions and the private environment is going is, I think, done by ECCC, by creation of the national cybersecurity agencies, and we see in the current environment more and more intelligence hubs revolving around the cybersecurity threats. Obviously, from cluster power perspective, we look at this with a very focused and sharp attention, and we also engage ourselves in different certification process on one part, and on the other hand, we're participating in various working groups in order to help the decision makers move in faster, let's say, from a legislation perspective, but also to understand the challenges that the companies are facing to become compliant.
Thank you very much.
If
Any other comment?
If I can add, we would like actually to see a bit of progress here, and we highly encourage to move actually from seeing the governments as just customers to actually partners into the journey. And we have had several discussions in the region where partners like DNSC, we're looking them truly as partners into managing the security, more like on an MSSP, managed security service provider, for the area or for the country itself. So we are looking into this maturity of the market, we are looking into progressing and having discussions, not only from supplier to customer, but also to help to advance them for being truly a partner in this journey. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other comment from the panelists? I think not. I have another question. If there is none from the floor, I'm constantly monitoring our chat. I once again invite the participants to raise questions. I'll be happy to read them to our panelists. Still on the on the Cybersecurity Act, I think that we are going toward the creation of a European certification framework. Therefore, there will be product and services and process certified under this framework. Do you think that since this is of course an instrument for bringing better security for these product, service, and processes, but do you think that this could also look as a very appealing tool for marketing purposes in the future? We know that the schemes are voluntary basis at the beginning. Do you think that the market will use this certification for marketing purposes, not just to show that the product or the process is certified?
So where one sees a challenge, others may see an opportunity. So yeah, I think it's obvious. It happened to, I think, all the certification processes, and I think this is actually one of the maybe the challenges of the companies that need to align to this certification process, because some are, let's say, more advanced, others are being afraid to be left behind. But at the end of the day, if this will be the standard, and this is definitely where the need of the industry is going to, a standardization, it will be mandatory for all solution providers to adapt to this. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for your insight, your opinion. Any other?
I fully agree, and I believe that while standardization is mandatory and something that we should strive for as a cybersecurity industry, compliance-driven security is not necessarily a good thing unless that's a highly regulated environment, and we need to understand what's the purpose behind it. So indeed, the industries like healthcare, like financial, do have such regulations, but you cannot really translate those regulations into more on the enterprise or SMB area where they are not relevant. So we need to balance that relevancy of the standard, which I think it's important, with the relevancy of compliance-driven security, which might actually hinder the overall security, but in majority of cases it doesn't. So there are some best practices that I highly encourage you to see, not only from Microsoft. We have frameworks like Cloud Adoption Framework, like well-architected framework, where this compliance-driven security is also covered, but of course, hyperscale providers like Google, Amazon, and private cloud providers do offer such visibility as well. Again, this is a community work, and we look forward for your feedback as well.
Thank you very much indeed. In the meanwhile, I've been informed by the organization that Mr. Pierre Gronlier has joined us, so I would be really glad to give him the floor as a last speech of this session. Perhaps we will have a couple of minutes for a wrap-up. I thank very much Mr. Gronlier for joining us. I know you were in some kind of trouble, so glad to see you on stage with us. We were waiting for you. We are really happy that you are with us, and thanks for joining, and I give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Is the audio correct? Audio? Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry for the setup. We can still be in 2021 and have issues with time zones, so I'm very sorry about that. I will give a short introduction about what we do at GaiaX and a high-level presentation of what we believe in GaiaX. For that, I need to go back to the root of the project and where we started, which was based on European value. We've talked a lot about European sovereignty, but I believe that we should go back to European value first and how we define those. So it will be about privacy, transparency, security, fair competition, and self-determination. We hear a lot also about offers about trusted cloud or sovereign cloud. Personally speaking, the sovereignty keyword apply very well to kingdoms, to states, to empires, but doesn't apply to virtual machines and data. When we will speak about sovereign data or data sovereignty, I prefer to use the words data usage right control. When we mention digital sovereignty, I prefer to use portability and a combination of portability, open source, identity control, maybe interconnection or interoperability for multi-cloud. And I believe it's a work that we have to do together to not use keywords that can be interpreted in various ways, but try to really deep dive and use a proper, more tangible definition of them. However, about trust, I believe this is one of the important words. And if we go back to the root of trust, basically that's a risk assessment that we are doing based on information to know if someone is able to do something. And for doing this assessment, this risk assessment, we need to have information and we need to have verified information. This is what we focus on the first deliverable for GaiaX. So GaiaX, first step, is to be able to provide a framework that allows users to take educated decisions based on European value. Going quickly over that slide, the idea is that we have actually in Europe and across the world a lot of existing ecosystems, many different ecosystems with many different types of architecture. They don't necessarily are compatible, they don't necessarily know how to find each other, and they don't exchange data. I'm not speaking about sharing data, but really exchanging, meaning there is something that you get back in return. So what we do at GaiaX is to have one reference architecture, and it's a very light model because there are plenty of associations that are really dedicated to work on that specifically. And we focus on the glue that allows those ecosystems to talk to each other, providing one decentralized ecosystem. So why decentralized? Because we believe that we don't necessarily need to have intermediary in every step of a transaction. And we will try to focus on minimizing the dependency on intermediary between two participants. We do have technology, we do have legal framework that allows without having a central ownership in the middle. And to use this decentralized ecosystem to glue together the existing ones. How do we ensure that those ecosystems are able to talk to each other? First step is to be able to discover them and to understand what they are doing. This is what we call GaiaX compliance, and we're back to transparency. So I took some notes already about what was said before. How do we ensure that for everyday services, they are the same description? That's the first tangible deliverable of GaiaX. We want to create, and we are creating, a fair knowledge graph of verifiable self-description. So self-description is internal vocabulary within GAIX Association to refer to the identity card, let's say, of participants and services. How do you describe the services? Where they are located? What are their supplier? What type of identity schema do they use? What type of security do they put? Data at rest, data in transit, data in execution. If you have a recovery time objective, what are those? If you have SLE, SLO, what are those? How do you combine SLOs to when you compose your offer, to have one general one and to have an overview, an understanding of what you expose yourself. And that's everything is back to the objective of risk assessment when you choose one cloud provider to another, and to have one common framework to ease the readability of the offer that you have right now. The second objective within that is to enable all the SMEs to have a place where they can show up and show off, to be able to find them and to be able to compare them with other maybe bigger players that have more visibility. For that, and it's also important, every of those bubble that you see in this knowledge graph, we apply the principles of zero knowledge proof. So we don't want in GAIX to be the central policeman of something that could be a European cloud isolated network. That's not at all the point. The idea is really to enable the collaboration of existing companies and to be able to enable them to describe what they are doing and really have this transparent, verified grid of information. For enforcing that, for enabling that, we have two levels of qualification, something that we call GAIX compliance, which is mandatory to be part of that knowledge graph, and GAIX labels. GAIX labels enable to have a higher level of interpretation regarding some criteria. I'm going to deep dive because I believe this is interesting for today's topic, and then I will probably skip and happy to take questions about compliance and what we mean by that. When we talk about certification process and compliance by regulation or security by compliance, I believe that it will be kind of a mouse or cat and mouse game. So there will be always a delay between we see a technology, we have the qualification that enables certification that developers to know what's happening. So the compliance in GAIX, that's not through proper CAB, conformity assessment bodies as we know them. That's software, like proper source code software, that will automatically check a set of rules that ensure that every one of those services within this knowledge graph, every participant for a specific type of participant and services, have the same level of information and verified information. Compliance articulates itself around 4 axes: file format, basic requirement, cryptographic signature, so about 5 formats. The mandatory attributes that needs to be displayed, filled in, and also the information of who verified the value of those attributes. If you want to have a data exchange endpoint, we also read the European Data Governance Act, and we saw that there are the notion of a consent form. So we make sure that the consent is expressed in a machine-readable format. And we do have technology that enable us today to do that without having to rely on, I will be a bit sarcastic, but PDFs and manual work. We do know how to automate that. Cryptographic signature, once you have those attributes, we want to make sure that we are able to chain who verified those attributes back to an IDAS identity, so European identity signature, qualified signature from an identity, from a trusted issuer. And the reason for that is once you sign a verification or self-description with your legal identity, it has a legal meaning in it. And the idea is really to have this chain of trust, chain of transparency of who declare what, and they are liable for what they declare. The big advantage of having this knowledge graph is that you can verify the information consistency. It will be you can extract information.
Just one. Sorry for interrupting. We have only 1 minute left for the entire
that's
session.
that last slide. So I'm done after that one. Information consistency is an important one that allows participants to crawl this graph and to verify if the information from one service, from the jurisdiction, is consistent with the location of the provider. We've seen in the past that not always the case between what is declared and what is really happening, and this knowledge graph enables to do that. And lastly, the information veracity of how do you verify that. The last, for having some food for the most technical of us, the identity is the one that we will focus on, and then how to build this knowledge graph. That will be all.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Grelier. Glad to have heard also from your insight. So we have had our 5 distinguished speakers that have joined us on stage today for the certCON11. It was a very interesting discussion. I thank every one of you for the insight you have provided. We can, conclude that by quoting some of you that together we are stronger. We need to keep building this community. We need to keep talking. Private and public still need a long way to discuss, how to improve the overall situation. The union is also, providing some, very important platform and tools to make this happen. So for sure, we have all the means for addressing the issues. We need to, keep spreading awareness, keep training people, because we understand that also the company very often, think that they just implement cloud and the security is dealt by, the provider, while they have a very important role in keeping everything safe and secure. With that said, I once again thank very much the organizer of certCON for inviting all us over. It was really a privilege and an honor to be with you today. I would like to thank once again the speakers for their insight, and the public for the question. And I give back the floor to the organizer. A virtual round of applause and for the speakers. Thank you very much indeed.
Dacă tot suntem aici, dacă mai aveți ceva întrebări, să discutăm în sală sau că n-a fost timp. Dacă nu,
putem lua întrebări. Dacă nu la cafea, dacă e mai cald.
mi s-a făcut cald.
Thank you. We continue the discussions in the coffee break.
I gave my device to a friend I thought I could trust. And the next day, when I opened up my laptop, romantic music started playing and a pop-up window appeared. It was offering me a cheap upgrade for a service I regularly use. On the pop-up window, there was personal information being shown. One of that was my debit card information, which was frightening to even imagine that someone had access to my debit card information. I was thinking this is something suspicious, so I was gonna close the pop-up window, but it didn't allow me to close the pop-up window. And that was the moment I knew I got hacked. After I got hacked, the steps I took were immediate. Window, there was personal information being shown. One of that was my debit card information. After I got hacked, the steps I took were immediate. I changed my password. I contacted the service providers. I did change my debit card. It is reassuring to have a new debit card which is more safe and more secure. And I also set up a new Wi-Fi system so that the default password and the name can be changed. You shouldn't share your devices with other people. I did change my debit card. It is reassuring to have a new debit card which is more safe and more secure. I would consider myself reasonably knowledgeable when it comes to technology, but after I got hacked, my takeaways are that you shouldn't share your devices with other people. Think before you click. If you get a suspicious looking message, look at the source and contact the service providers. You should always download official apps from certified application store and change your passwords regularly and change your Wi-Fi name as well.
My business has been running online for 8 years. Social media would be a huge part of our business. I got an email through from my social media provider and it was giving me an option to verify my account. So I clicked in, logged into my account. Within the next half an hour, my phone started to slow down. I noticed that apps that I would normally use weren't working. So I did turn the phone off. I turned my phone back on about 40 minutes later. There was a whole lot of emails that had just come in. When I opened it, I could see that all of my account details had been changed, my username, my password, and my phone number. We then had emails stating that our account had been taken for ransom. They were threatening to delete all of the content, to take the name if we did not respond and pay a ransom within 2 hours. That then whittled down to 1 hour. We realized we were on a countdown, and that's when we started to panic. I realized very quickly, don't interact. We'd had emails stating that our account had been taken for ransom. They were threatening to delete all of the content, to take the name if we did not respond and pay a ransom within 2 hours. The ransom they were asking for was $900. At the time, I very much considered paying it, but at the same time, my husband was looking online and was reading a couple of scenarios where this had happened to somebody else, they paid it and they didn't receive their account back. So I realized very quickly, don't interact. It was devastating to see our account disappear. Not only was that 8 years of work, but it was also the history of our business. We created the new account and then I went on to my personal account and I recorded a 2-minute video, very briefly telling people what had happened. When I woke up the next morning, that video had been viewed 25,000 times and everybody shared the page. Within 24 hours, we had built up a following of over 25,000. It was like somebody came in, burnt out my business, and then the community came together and built it up the next day. It was absolutely incredible. The advice I would give to people is always think before you click, no matter how legitimate something looks. It was devastating to see our account disappear. Not only was that 8 years of work, but it was also the history of our business. I was aware that hacking was becoming more and more prominent. I didn't expect that it would happen to me. The advice I would give to people is always think before you click. No matter how legitimate something looks, make sure that you click on the sender email. I would also say make sure that you put two-step authentication on everything. Make sure to use a unique and strong password for each account. Keep them different and use a password manager where you can. As well as reporting to your social media provider or wherever the hacking incident has occurred, you should also report it to the local authorities, because the more these things are reported and the more awareness that is out there of what is happening, the more education is going to be put in place on how to prevent it.
Verificați cu atenție orice propunere de plată online. Nu accesați linkuri trimise de necunoscuți. Nu furnizați datele de pe card. Ele nu se folosesc pentru a primi bani. Raportați orice tentativă de fraudă.
Are we waiting for Pavel, or how do we proceed?
Good morning, can you hear me?
Hi, Pavel. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. All right.
Good day.
Good morning, then, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's morning panel, titled Offensive and Defensive Cyber Roles. Welcome, everybody, both on site in Bucharest and online. I can't see the hall in Bucharest, but I hope there are many people there.
Only two of us, actually three.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Greetings from Bucharest.
Okay, a little introduction about myself. My name is Pavel Prodaniu. I'm a technical manager at Cyberdations, a Romanian company which offers cybersecurity services to organizations worldwide. It's a pleasure for me to have this opportunity to moderate this panel today, and I would like to give special thanks to Mr. Dan Câmpian for proposing me to moderate this panel today. About today's topic, we will talk about offensive and defensive cyber roles, as mentioned before. Even though this statement is really broad and covers a lot of things in the cybersecurity space, I would like to confess to you that my first thoughts when I saw this topic for this track were about red teaming and blue teaming, but it's actually much more about it, especially when I had a quick insight into the presentations of today's speakers, but I don't want to spoil the track. So in order to correctly tackle this panel and provide up-to-date information to 2021, currently I have four special guests with me today. They are highly valuable people from the cybersecurity space, people in key positions, such as business development managers and cybersecurity officers. Therefore, today we have today with me Ms. Simona Hoancă, physically present in Bucharest. She's the business development executive at CDEX, Cyber Defense Exercise and Training Platform at Vector Synergy, and has extensive international expertise in management and delivery of complex ICT and cybersecurity projects for civilian and military organizations. Thank you for being here with us today.
Nice meeting you, Pavel.
Also on site in Bucharest, we have Mr. Adrian Badea, who is a cybersecurity expert responsible for business development, pre-sales, and post-sales activities. He's a manager at S&T, a company specialized in providing IT solutions with presence in over 25 countries. Thank you, Mr. Adrian Badea, for joining us.
Thank you also. Good day, Pavel.
Going to online, we have the pleasure to have with us Mr. Alexei Filipov, Head of Development at Ericsson for the Product Security Operations. Thank you, Mr. Filipov, for accepting the invitation.
Yes, thanks for having me here.
And our last guest speaker is Mr. Marinel Stănilă, Information Security Advisor Manager at SafeTech. He has over 13 years of experience in the IT field, combined with expertise in the field of cybersecurity. Thank you for being with us today. All right. Just a small announcement regarding the questions from the public. I like to take them after the presentations, unless it's just a quick one. I want to make sure that everybody gets plenty of time to present their topic, and then until the end, we will try to go over as many questions as possible and consume all the time we have available. All right. That being said, let's get started with the presentations. I'd like to start first with the people on site, and then move to online. Yes, please, Mr. Stănilă. I see you raised the hand. Okay. False positive. Okay. Therefore, Mr. Simona Hoancă, if you're ready, you can break the ice, and yeah, let's get started with the first presentation.
Thank you, Pavel. I'm waiting for the PPT, please. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Simona Irina Hoancă. I am Romania. I'm based in Brussels. I am currently developing projects on cyber range and consultancy services together with Vector Synergy for NATO and European institutions. Vector Synergy provides more than 10 years now professional staffing services to NATO and to European institutions, and their focus lies mainly on critical operations support. During the last years, the company developed its own cyber range platform called CyDEX, Cyber Defense Exercise and Training Platform. Today, I'm going to share with you the role of cyber range, which is closely related to our chapter Offensive and Defensive Roles, and I'm going to talk to you about our CyDEX experiences. What is cyber range? What is the modern definition of cyber range? Cyber range is a multi-purpose virtual environment that enables organizations to simulate cyber combat training, test and simulate infrastructure, the digital twin concept, and offer also a benchmarking. Cyber defense training exercises platforms are supporting three primary processes: education, training, and exercises, asset test and risk analysis, and also cyber defense exercises and knowledge sharing. CyDEX, it's a solution, it's a purely software solution located on premises or on cloud. Today we're going to talk about functionalities and benefits of a cyber range. One of the main functionalities of CyDEX relates to the training. We have created here three types of training scenarios. The first one, it's the classic one, the blue team, the customer, versus red team, competing on the large infrastructure in a cyber combat type of training. The second type of training scenarios are fully automated, and they are destined for individual trainings. On top of this, we have the possibility to offer customized training scenarios where we can help the customer to create their own trainings based on their needs. The second main functionality relates to simulation. Simulation of your own infrastructure. With the use of CyDEX, you can actually replicate your own infrastructure, emulate real-world counterparts. If, for example, you want to test a security app before you put it in production, you can use the platform to test it beforehand, and this way, beforehand, you can see how it improves your security and your data availability. It has many functionalities and also benefits, but for example, you can use this platform to test your potential recruiters before you hire them, before you get them on board. Either we like it or not, often the human element is at the core of the cybersecurity challenges. I will walk you through briefly, in a nutshell, how the cyber range architecture looks like. We have the engine, we have the training scenarios that we have already discussed about, we have the blue team, we have the red team, and of course the scoring of the end of the game that allows you the benchmarking. In terms of benefits, we can talk about better HR selection or faster incident recovery, or simulate before you operate. But here, I would like to give you an example related to improved efficiencies for exercises and reduce logistic costs. From my previous experience while working in NATO, NATO is an organization that runs hundreds of trainings and exercises per year. Logistics preparation versus training per se, it's now 80-20% of the effort. The feature of the platform will help you turn this ratio around, because the platform stores your trainings and exercises, and you can access them unlimited, customize them, and replay them unlimited. As said, cyber ranges are needed to train people that are already working. The formal education process is long, hence there is a huge gap between demand and supplies for cybersecurity experts. After all these years, we are still talking about the broken paradigm of cybersecurity. Still, 24% of the organizations focus their strategy on cyber attack prevention. 61% of the company think that cybersecurity applicants aren't qualified. It is difficult, indeed, to find people that are qualified to prevent cyber attacks. Hence, companies tend to focus mainly on detection. In order to support critical operations for NATO and European institutions, Vector Synergy is providing cybersecurity experts together with our Cyber Range platform. What is the way ahead at the European level? We are strongly looking into European Defence Fund call launched this year, which aims to pool and share the existing capabilities of member states' cyber ranges, national cyber ranges. Actually, European Defence Agency started in 2017 the Cyber Ranges Federation projects with the objectives to develop a sophisticated and powerful platform, but not by building a new cyber range, instead by interconnecting the existing cyber ranges, national cyber defense exercise communities from the member states, including the states that did not own a cyber range. This way, at the European level, we can improve capacity in trainings and exercises. And the aim basically is to create a greater interoperability between member states' capabilities. As a takeaway from our side, we would like you to remember three things. Cyber ranges, CyDEX, is a living organism that is being continuously developed to support our customers for critical operation, for simulation trainings and exercises. Simulate cyber combat training. It's one of the takeaways that I would like you to remember from the presentation today. Test and simulate your infrastructure, the digital twin concept. And of course, the part related to interoperability, which for a cyber range is a key asset, and it is required as next step at the European level. From our side, Vector Synergy team, I'm here with my colleagues Milos, our technical expert on CyDEX, and with my colleague Luke. We are available anytime for questions, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Simona Honka, for your presentation. It was awesome to get an insight into the CyDEX platform. I see we have a question from the panelists. Since we have time and we are only 4 speakers now, the next presentations can be also longer than 10 minutes. There is enough time, but I guess we can take questions from now. Okay, so the question is, how is CyDEX addressing the need to simulate a broad mix of proprietary and non-proprietary technologies in a cost-effective manner in a cyber range?
Can I ask to repeat the question once again, please?
So to repeat it, okay. How is CyDEX addressing the need to simulate a broad mix of proprietary and non-proprietary technologies in a cost-effective manner in a cyber range?
So the short answer over here is that CyDEX just allows you to not only simulate on the virtual machine what is any image that you want to provide, that you want to test, but we can actually connect to the platform some of the OT devices, such as like IP cameras, for example, and that's something that maybe would be interesting for you. I'm not sure if this answers your question.
Hope it answers. It's a question from on-site person, I guess. Okay, there are no more questions currently. Let's move on with the next presentation. As I said, you can take more than 10 minutes. And now let's go to Mr. Adrian Badea. Hope you can hear us.
Yes, I can. Hello, everyone. Okay, hello, everyone. My name is Adrian Badea. I'm a Cyber Security Business Development Manager for SNT Romania. And the title for the presentation today is Colors of Cybersecurity in the context of offensive and defensive cyber roles of 2021. So just to name a few roles, it would look like this. The fact that we are having a gap at the worldwide level of highly skilled experts, and these are just only a few roles that we can name. So to start with the colors of cybersecurity, I will start with the non-colors actually. So the black hats, the hackers with bad intentions, they break into the law, they break the law and do not follow the rules, they conduct disruptive attacks and always have the malicious intents. The white hats are the ethical hackers, the security specialists, and they make recommendations for improvement, they uncover security failings to help safeguard organizations. And as a blend of a mix of the two are the great hats, the hacktivists. So they break into systems without their own knowledge, not inherently malicious with their intentions, but they are on the line of getting into white or sometimes getting into the black zone from the first two bubbles. Now, considering the colors, we have the red teams, the offenders, which are the highly skilled experts responsible for detecting the security flaws. They do exploit the vulnerabilities, but with good intentions and in, let's say, in a controlled way, more or less, conduct penetration tests and black box tests. The blue team, the defenders, the security experts responsible for the cyber protection of the organization, they respond to the cyber threats and recover and possible to handle the threats. The idea is to secure and minimize the attack surface. Somewhere in between, there is the purple team, which is a mix of red and blue. They brainstorm the strategies and approaches used to enhance the security posture, and they improve the results of the red team's campaigns and boost the capabilities of the blue team. Now, we also have yellow team, which are the developers, the software developers and system architects. They build and design software systems and integrations that focus on requirements, functionality, user experience, and back-end performance. As a mix between the yellow and the blue teams are the green team, which is responsible to create the policies and frameworks that guide the other teams, and they have to improve code-based and design-based defense capability of the organizations. And the orange team, which is a mix between the red team, the offenders in the good way, and the yellow team, the developers. They are involved in awareness and training in order to get to the cyber hygiene of the organization, and they provide the education in the benefit of coding and design. Now, the whole idea is based on the presentation made by April Wright in the Black Hat conference, but now it is used as a standard in the industry. So all the colors are now actors and teams that are being considered. Because I have more time to discuss, in Romania we see a lot of the black, white colors, gray colors, blue sometimes. The red teams are mainly outsourced for many organizations where there are presence. We have the developers, obviously, but the other colors are quite missing. Now, in the offensive way, we can talk about the good and the bad. The offensive are the cyber criminals. Their intention is to damage, to disrupt, to steal data, to steal money, and to extort the money. But we also have the offensive in the good way, which are the red teams, the offenders that I presented earlier, and the nation offensive cyber operations teams, which are covering offensive actions to combat security threats, hostile states, terror groups, extremists, hackers, disinformation, and election interference, which is for the past 5 years at least, it's a quite huge problem. So Britain's national cyber force will receive more than £5 billion of investment before 2030 in order to create highly skilled jobs and expertise. So UK is actually investing a lot of money in order to open more roles for the National Offensive Cyber Operation Team in order to combat the other things. Now, in the defensive way, we are talking here more about the blue team, but I will start to, because many of our presentations and the other presentations from today and from yesterday were talking much about the protection and the solutions. I'll start directly with the challenges, which for 2021 they are complex for all the organizations, from small, medium, and high-end enterprises. So we have too many alerts. We do not have enough expertise. You saw in the first slide there are so many roles and so many types of experts that are needed. Lots of technologies, rising costs of security operations, and the lack of visibility and slow response in order to counter the cyber attacks. Now, I'll get into two solutions that we have in our security portfolio. They are solutions from Google. We have a strong partnership with Google, and I would like to present you two of those cybersecurity solutions from Google. Those are in the context of those covering those complex challenges that we see in protecting the organizations from cyber perspective. So the first one is the Google Security Command Center. This is the umbrella, if you want, of the infrastructure as a service Google platform. So as the report of 451 Alliance says that the security is the first factor impacting digital transformation. So users on the move, we have data which is in the cloud and devices that are multiplying. So as I said, it's a security command center from Google is a security and risk management platform as an umbrella for all the security related events for the Google cloud infrastructure. Now, it has different capabilities. It has visibility gained by asset inventory, functionalities, asset tracking. It discovers vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, web app vulnerabilities. Also is capable to detect threats, malicious activity in network and accounts, and also in containers, and has the capability to maintain compliance using best practices, CIS, NIST, so it looks to those standards, also industry standards like PCI DSS and ISO. Now, with the cloud asset inventory, with the event threat detection, container threat detection, security health analytics, web security scanner, the platform itself provides continuous cloud monitoring, but it also has the capabilities of security, identifying the security threats, the vulnerabilities, and the remediation measures, and how to fix all the problems. Also, it has the compliance part, which gives us lots of reports mapped to different standards. Now, it is a single pane of glass for Google Cloud Security, for Google as an infrastructure as a service. It has the Google Security Products integration. It aggregates all the information from that with the binary authorization for Google Kubernetes Engine, Cloud Load Data Loss Prevention, Cloud Armor, which is a great package for DDoS and web application firewall for the assets that are being hosted in the Google Cloud Platform, and for SETI, which is actually a great community-based tool. It also integrates with the partner security products, so it integrates with all the other vendors that we as SNT Romania also have in portfolio. those partners that are integrated offer a better overview and protection. Now, the use cases are to gain centralized visibility and control over all the resources. Again, as it was said yesterday and today in the cloud security panel, cloud is a shared responsibility and security in general is a shared responsibility. And the lack of different resources is gaining us, or do the black hats, the possibility to exploit those. So find and fix vulnerabilities is also a use case, detect threats targeting the assets, and also a use case, important one, is to maintain compliance. Now, this is a platform that is mapped only on the Google Cloud platform, to the infrastructure as a service products from Google. But there is another product, the second one that I want to show you, from the Google Cloud, which is called Chronicle. This one, I like to call it as a next generation SIEM, Security Information Event Management Tool. Why? Because it really detects everything. It's a solution based on Google-owned defense techniques, and the pricing or the commercial part is based only on the size of the organization in comparison with the traditional SIEM solutions that are only based on data volume, on number of events per second or number of gigs per day, tera per days. This is not mapped to the data volume, it is only based on the size of the organization. And as a SIEM, it is not only, and as a SaaS product, software as a service product, it is not related only to the Google platform, it is independent, it is vendor agnostic, and it is it can be integrated in any kind of organization, on-premise, hybrid, or any other cloud provider is possible to be integrated with this SaaS product, with the Chronicle. So it gives the possibility to search at Google speed the threats from the organization and to correlate petabytes of telemetry using the threat intelligence from Google. So as a SIEM product, as a traditional, let's say, part of the SIEM products, it has the security analytics. It can integrate with any kind of security product solutions or other type of application, Active Directory and so on. And it has the possibility to store and to analyze all the enterprise security events and to make data useful for detection, investigation, and hunting. Now, how it works is that we have the telemetry from the organization. Still, the organization can be deployed in any kind of way. It can have some data centers in Amazon, data centers in Azure, or on premises and so on. We can integrate with the third-party intelligence from different vendors, third-party vendors, curated intelligence using VirusTotal and uppercase from Google, and it has different containers, private containers in the backend in order to provide all those capabilities. And one interesting container from this is the VirusTotal metadata. So it is integrated directly with the VirusTotal database from Google. Now it has also proprietary signals like DNS resolutions, file hashes, curated indicators, and all of those kind of information lead us to the incident investigation, threat hunting, detection, and integration with different other tools in order to have a better view and better understanding of the security posture of the organization. Another advantage, and why I say that is a next-gen SIEM, is the fact that it puts the data in the context. So we have a unified data model. It has the correlation out of the box of IP to host and to credentials, to accounts, to users. And it has event duplication. So you have a visibility end-to-end in any kind of regards to any kind of tool or asset from the organization. Now there are a couple of screenshots from Chronicle. All this kind of information and statistics are mapped to using the events and logs that are seen in the organization. And what is nice with Chronicle to achieve is the fact that you get exactly a Google-like page form in which you can actually search exactly like google.com. You can search on your security events that are related to your organization. You can search, for example, for an asset or for an endpoint, for a credential, for anything, and you have exactly like on google.com all the security related events to that. And the last topic from my presentation is about the SNT Romania cybersecurity, which is a strategical direction for SNT Romania. And we have in our portfolio of security solutions, we have in our portfolio lots of vendors, best in the market, I like to say. And we have the portfolio structures in 4 pillars, which are the host, infrastructure, clouds, and security management. And on top of that, we have our own highly skilled experts that provide the value added of SNT Romania, which are the professional services in terms of the security services that we provide on the solutions that we also provide to our customers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Adi.
Thank you for your talk. It was awesome to see how Google tackles this problem. It's a great insight into this domain. And I have a nice question for you at the end of the presentations. Till then, let's move on in order to assure that everybody gets enough time for their presentations. So now I want to move to online. So I want to invite Mr. Filipov, if you're ready. I know you have a great talk about 5G. So let's get started.
Yes, hello. So let me share my screen and the presentation. Just a second, please. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good then, let's start with the presentation. Hello, and thank you very much for the organizers of this event to have me here to talk about the 5G cybersecurity hack 2021. This exciting event was held virtually in June this year, when hackers and security researchers were invited to pen test 5G products, solutions, and use cases deployed by involved industry partners. My name is Alexei Filipov, and I work for Ericsson, Chief Product Security Officer, as the head of development team. We deal mostly with program management activities intended to improve product security operations. Just to set up the expectations, I would like to stress that my presentation will concentrate on the organizational aspects of the 5G cybersecurity hack event. I will not be talking about TTPs that were used by participants of the challenges, neither highlight the identified vulnerabilities. Without further delay, let's start with the presentation. First of all, I would like to give a big credit to Traficom for the bold idea to organize the 5G cybersecurity hack. Traficom stands for the Finnish Traffic and Communication Agency, which is also a home for the Finnish National Cybersecurity Center, a mastermind behind the idea of this event. From my point of view, Traficom is a leading agency in the Nordics when it comes to experimentation with telecommunication technology and security topics. It has been so for so many years now. With the organization of the 5G cyber hack, Traficom wanted to spark a new type of collaboration between different players in the 5G cyber defense community. Also, they wanted to organize hands-on pen testing activities on 5G products to improve understanding of the security posture. As some of you may know, the first 5G cybersecurity hack event was held already in December 2019. It was a physical event with 70 participants from 30-something countries. It was also a successful event that even made headlines in Wall Street Journal. A lot of people involved in the organization of the event in 2019 were excited to continue the discussion how to organize the same event in 2020. Unfortunately, in February 2020, we faced COVID-19 situation, and we were pushed to abandon our offices and stay at home. After COVID first wave was over, Traficom realized that the perfect opportunity for a virtual event should not be wasted. Somewhere in October, November 2020, Traficom approached us with a proposal to conduct a virtual hacking event. Long story short, in January 2021, we had our first planning meetings with contributing industry partners. Initially, it was Nokia and Ericsson, but very soon Cisco and Aalto University, along with the PricewaterhouseCoopers, also joined the discussion. Traficom selected Finnish company Junction to facilitate the event. Junction's responsibility was to deploy a registration platform, to do the initial screening of participants, and moderate the actual event. Our considerations, of course, participation and organization of such event always requires a lot of homework and internal alignments. When Traficom contacted us, we sat down with the leadership team of the product security operations for a brainstorming session to map our objectives. First idea was that it is a part of our DNA to demonstrate our commitment, competence, and openness in the technology areas paramount for our business. And this applies very well to 5G topics. We also agreed to deploy a 5G product that is a part of our commercial portfolio. We thought this would satisfy the expectations of participants if they can get their hands on something real, something that they cannot test in real life in their work. We also wanted to satisfy some other objectives. We wanted to connect with the security and research community, and we wanted to test some ideas relevant for our internal initiatives. And having in mind that COVID-19 has been raging around the world at this time, as it does today, it was obvious that we will not be able to do this event physically, but we will do it in a fully remote mode, which also adds its complexity. Also, the work from home had a very demotivating impact on our teams, and we thought that such event could be a good opportunity to have some fun. Behind the scenes, after we decided to participate, we had to roll up our sleeves and immediately get to work. If anybody thinks that doing a virtual event is a walk in the park, this person is completely wrong. If you look at the calendar, we started our work already in January, and the actual event was held in almost end of June. It means 6 months of serious work. Of course, we had to identify a product in our 5G portfolio that would be deployed for this event. When you start a discussion, it's always a lot of ideas, good ideas floating around. But when you start doing the alignment, you quickly realize that many ideas will just not work. Once potential product is identified, then you may hit your next roadblock. You need to deploy the product in a safe and controlled manner. Having in mind that you want hackers to do all sorts of crazy things to your product, no way that you can deploy the product in development team's lab where they do the actual work. So you need to find an alternative place. But we were lucky enough to identify a lab that is dedicated for use by our customers to test different products before they make a decision to purchase them. Well, then you start thinking about how many participants you may get to your challenge, how to select them, and based on what criteria you may decide who should be left behind the door if they cannot fit on the list. In this case, you just make a decision that previous telco experience is a must criteria, plus some other valid experience relevant to the challenge. Also, we had to think about how to make sure that the participants are the person they claim they are. We had quite unpleasant experience with some participants in 2019. So we did verification of applicants by ourselves through the different channels. Then you need to think about how to evaluate the findings. And obviously, you need to agree with other industry partners. So the approach is similar for every use case and product that we have in a challenge. Fortunately enough, we were able to quickly agree that CVSS version 3.1 would be used for evaluation of findings. Well, you also need to convince some managers that during the event, the technical support will be required 24/7. And of course, you need to remind them that the event is happening during the weekend. Last but not least, you also need to think about how to pay out the prices, because it is a virtual event and you're not going to be in the same place with the participants. Well, this and many, many other topics should be coordinated internally and with the industry partners. And it should be done remotely, which adds a lot of complexity. And believe me, this can add a lot of gray hair. And then you open the registration for the event and start counting the applicants. And then you get depressed that during the first week, there are only a handful amount of applicants who have completed the registration. Of course, there is a promising sign that a lot of people have opened the registration link, but did not complete the registration itself. And then you intensify the marketing effort and the numbers of applicants start to grow slowly but steadily. By the closing date for the registration, there are 139 qualified participants, which is not much for a virtual event. But then you look at the profiles of the applicants for a challenge, and then you realize that it would be a real honor to host the security professionals and researchers in your challenge. Just a few quick words about the product in our challenge. Remember, we wanted to deploy a real 5G product from our portfolio that is also used by our customers. After some discussions, we identified Packet Core Gateway as a product for our challenge. For people not familiar with the telco environment and Ericsson terminology, the Packet Core Gateway is literally a gateway between the end user and operator's network. And who said that the challenge should be easy? In order to spice it up, we decided that participants of our challenge would be asked to test the robustness of specific telco interfaces to find flaws and potential vulnerabilities in our product. Needless to say, for such hard work, we were willing to pay prices in total amount of 10,000 euros. All in all, we selected 14 teams to participate in our challenge. But by the end of the day, only 10 teams decided to participate and showed up. So the event goes from Friday afternoon till Sunday afternoon. In total, 40 hours of non-stop hacking, with main concentration on fuzzing of specific interfaces, but also manual pen testing activities. Multiply it by the amount of the participants in the challenge, and you will get a significant amount of quality work and feedback to your product. A lot of good findings, side discussions, valuable learnings, and takeaways for participants of the challenge, and of course for us, organizers of the event. When I think what has made our event successful, then I recall the following things. We had 24/7 technical support during the event. We deployed also the old-fashioned style website, you can see on the right side of my slide, with the information about the challenge, access details, and many other relevant topics. We also deployed the IR chat and actively used it for communication with participants of our challenge. Moreover, participating teams were able to talk to each other and align their fuzzing activities, which would help us to attribute the results properly. We also offered mentoring from our product specialists and security experts to explain the details and specifics of Packet Core Gateway. Learnings and takeaways. If you ask me, did we achieve the objectives that we mapped before the event? My answer would be obviously yes. But I also would like to highlight some learnings and takeaways from the 5G cybersecurity hack event. Virtual event is definitely more challenging than a physical event, but it provides a lot of opportunities to learn and test new approaches in doing our business. In case you will consider organizing a virtual hacking event on your own, give it a serious thought if you can pull it. Without proper communication channels and a serious media campaign, you cannot attract enough qualified participants to your challenge. In case you decide to do the event, where you will use a facilitation partner, this partner must have previous experience and connections in this field. Communication, as always, before and during the event is paramount for success. There is always endless amount of topics to be discussed and agreed, and remote work always adds complexity. There are always good ideas, but you need to realize the moment when you just cut off the inflow of these fabulous thoughts and just concentrate on what matters the most and what would really work in real life. The product you select and the infrastructure you will use for deployment always must withstand the activities and attacks that would be undertaking. You need a technical support team capable to quickly reanimate your product if it goes down to ensure that the show must go on. In case your infra would be overrun during the first minutes of the challenge, you may end up in a situation that participants will just leave your challenge to another challenge and will not return. Well, the events like this could be utilized to test ideas also for ongoing internal initiatives. For example, in our case, we collected many good insights how to organize our own bug bounty program. Last but not least, the positive feedback from participants of your challenge is everything that matters in the end of the day, despite the amount of work and nervousness that you have spent on this event. That is pretty much from my side.
Thank you for your presentation. It was awesome to hear about the challenges you encounter organizing this online event, this 5G event. I also have a great question for you at the end of this session. But till then, let's move on to Mr. Stanila. If you can hear us, please feel free to share your screen and start your presentation.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's great. Okay, can you see also the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, my name is Marinos Stanila. I'm a cybersecurity consultant with SafeTech for more than 8 years now, and have been involved in activities such as cybersecurity audits and risk assessments, developing information security policies and standards, implementing security solution, and consulting on best practice. For this presentation, I would like to talk about the offensive and defensive cyber roles that every organization should have access to for regulatory and legal compliance, and about the need for qualified human resources, because this is my area of expertise. Okay. So I will start by saying that an information system that is considered secure is not the result of an accident, and secure systems are not the result of random changes and additions to their functionality. Also, they're not the result of adding solutions without considering them before. Instead, they are based on a solid knowledge of their functioning, on well-documented policies and procedures that are based on industry best practices and standards that are supported by a coherent and efficient management. As information systems are threatened both from the inside and from the outside, and any networks can be penetrated if enough time and resources are allocated. It goes without saying that organizations need to allocate more resources for their defense too. In this respect, the law that was passed by the Romanian Parliament, law number 362, the so-called NIS law, requests from the very beginning that organizations identify the inherent risks, plan the activities that will ensure compliance, and, very importantly, establish those responsible for their implementation. So, in other words, it establishes the offensive and defensive cyber roles that every organization should have access to for legal and regulatory compliance. And as business services are built on information systems for their successful delivery, in order to identify risk, as I previously mentioned, a solid understanding of their functionality is required. Documentation is key here. You cannot have a secure perimeter like it was shown in a previous presentation without a map of the perimeter. Having a scope for the work, of course, that ensures that you can have a beginning and you can also have an end for the work. Here, formulating security principles in a clear way so that they are understand and they can be implemented as efficiently as possible for the organization in order to respond to previously identified risk is one of the key responsibilities of an information security role. A proper information security officer role should advise top management on cybersecurity, on risk management, and is responsible for aligning the overall security strategy with the organization's business objectives. The information security officer also develops and manages an information security awareness program in the organization so that every involved party knows their responsibility. So a strong emphasis here on the fact that information security has a broader scope than just IT security will greatly improve the success rate of the information security program. And as cybersecurity is in a state of continuous flux, always a game of cat and mouse, practices in the organization have to be evaluated periodically. That is where cybersecurity auditor roles come into play. So this is to assess the adequacy of the actual practice of information security that is implemented against the organization policies and regulatory frameworks and also the legal bindings that we have now. The cybersecurity auditor role is a natural sparring partner for the information security officer role. So as only together they can help the organization achieve its compliance goal and business objectives to deliver the services in a safe way. The counterpart of the information security officer role, as mentioned in a previous presentation, is the security tester, which is the responsible party for the offensive role, as opposed to the information security officer role, which is the responsible party for the cyber security defense role. The security tester is an offensive role by excellence and which, led by inventiveness and technical skills, finds misuse cases to uncover risks or confirm the exploitability of an vulnerability. This was also the case that was presented before with a 5G exercise. In order to comply with governance and the resilience part of the regulation, in the NIST law, the organization should have these three roles: the role of the information security officer role, the role of the security tester, and the role of the security auditor. From an operational point of view, technical measures that are recommended in the risk analysis and are implemented should be administered. So these are day-to-day activities that are performed by a security administrator. Okay. Which is his job is to manage the company-wide security solutions and implement required changes, of course, with the approval of the information security officer role. Organizations should have access to this role to be in compliance with the second part of the technical standards, the protection of information systems. Last but equally important, as the roles mentioned before, if not more important, is the security analyst role. So as cybersecurity event monitoring, vulnerability management, incident detection and response become a legal binding requirement, organizations face three types of challenges. These are presented by the acquisition of qualified personnel dedicated to the activities of a computer security incident response team, the acquisition of capable technology for the security analyst role to use, and the development of specific processes and procedures that the security analyst role will follow to more efficiently respond to incidents. From a human resources point of view, the operationalization of a functional computer security incident response center that operates continuously at in a 24/7 fashion. At least 8 dedicated people are needed that are specialized in system monitoring, event investigation, and incident response. Out of this, for the level 1 incident response monitoring, 6 of them will be needed, and another 2, of course, for level 2 for escalation. Not to mention incident management activities that have to be taken, which in smaller setups, of course, can be performed by the information security officer role.
Mr. Chen, sorry for interrupting you. We have only 2 minutes left for this presentation.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So I would like to end now, of course, with a conclusion that we at SafeTech can fulfill all these cyber security roles successfully, having dedicated teams for information security governance, for risk management and compliance audits, for security testing, security solution implementation, and a dedicated incident response team that is internationally accredited since 2015. And has an uninterrupted service record and is open to serving all organizations from public and private sectors. Let me just finish with the key takeaway that we need to create more awareness about the importance of qualified human resources, and we are at SafeTech. We like to be part of the solution. So that's why we are trying to help by assisting in creating a master's degree curricula for cybersecurity knowledge, so that young people can learn cybersecurity and the field can grow in specialists. So thank you. This is my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Stanila. It was great to listen to your presentation. Let's quickly move on. We have one more presentation. We have the pleasure to have with us today Mr. Carl Taylor and Ms. Julie Fugit. They are both from the University of Kansas, and they occupy key functions in the cybersecurity department in that university. Mr. Taylor is Chief Security Officer there, and Ms. Fugit, please excuse me if I pronounced it incorrectly, is Chief Information Security Officer. Mr. Taylor spent, just as a quick introduction, because I didn't introduce them before, Mr. Taylor spent 30 years serving the United States as a military intelligence commissioned officer in the US Army and a civilian special agent and intelligence officer with the Department of Defense, United States, of course. On the other side, Ms. Fugit has worked in the field of information security since 2006 and in information technology, the general IT, since the 1997. She leads a team of engineers and analysts who are responsible for protecting the Kansas University data system networks, the students, the guests, all the equipments there. All right, thank you for being with us today, and please keep your presentation around 10 minutes. You can share your screen, and yeah, let's get started.
Okay, thank you, Pavel. It's an honor to be here today. As you see, Julie and I have very different backgrounds, but over the last 6 years that I've been here, we've formed a very close working relationship between all the other security disciplines and IT security. So what we want to do today is just briefly show you really the complexities and some of the challenges that we have in the academic arena. No matter what industry you're in, government or private sector or academia, we share a lot of the same issues, but we have some different challenges just based off of the openness of the academic world. You can go to the next one, Julie. Okay, so as you can see here, our environment touches on a lot of different areas. We have to, of course, educate our students, work with our faculty members who are, critical thinkers, have very diverse backgrounds, and we also have to then support the research enterprises. We do collaboration with many different institutions across the world. And of course, we do a lot of work for the United States government and then our industry partners. As I mentioned, we send people everywhere, it seems, when I look at some of our travel patterns. Before the pandemic, we typically had about 1,600 overseas trips. It's a very complex working environment. And of course, everybody's an expert in a university. So that makes it even a little bit more challenging. So pass over to you, Julie.
Thanks, Carl. The thing I want to get across about our network environment is that we can't just take a one-size-fits-all approach. We serve just about every use case you can imagine, apart from maybe as a residential internet service provider. So we have to support a wide variety of equipment and use cases in our environment because we're really more of a small city than just a contained organization or company.
Okay, so when I talk about what we do, one of the things I always like to talk about is, of course, why do we have a security program? Again, in the academic arena, it's supposed to be a free flow of information, ideas, and we want that, we encourage it, but with the world situation, at times we need to look at the security of our personnel and the things that we work on. So what I've seen just in the 6 years being out of the U.S. government and being with the state of Kansas is again our increased global collaboration. The complexity of our regulatory landscape just keeps growing. The United States government is constantly changing their rules, regulations, trying to tighten up security. And really the big purpose for the program, of course, is the safety and security of our folks. We want to be proactive, so we have different programs, projects that detect, deter unlawful behavior, whether it's inbound or within our university itself.
And to talk a little bit about the reasons to have a security program with regards to cybersecurity, we do have a great deal of travel, as Carl said. Pre-pandemic, we had 1,600 trips a year where our faculty and staff were abroad. So it does make securing our accounts and our systems more challenging, as well as doing our general monitoring of the network. We don't have the ability to just say, well, we believe that traffic from this particular region of the world is high risk, so we're just going to block it, the way maybe an organization just contained to the United States would do. So we have to get creative when it comes to securing our network and assuring that it's available and not sending information to places we don't want information to be sent. So to get in a little about what we are protecting, first and foremost, it's our people. I focus on cybersecurity, but really our number one focus, regardless of field, is keeping our faculty, staff, and students safe. And that requires an effort from more than just Carl Taylor's office. So he and I work together on that. When our folks are traveling, we do occasionally help with making sure that their accounts are secure with Carl's team and other activities related to people safety. My team's main focus, apart from that, is ensuring that our data is secure wherever it lives. I think that the pandemic brought into sharp focus the fact that your network border doesn't really exist anymore. Your network border is your endpoints and the people using those endpoints. So we have an obligation to secure our data wherever it lives, and it certainly does not only live on our campus. Our campus networks and systems are our other main targets for keeping things secure, and that requires working with both IT staff who work centrally within KUIT, but we also have distributed IT staff. And if you look at most American universities, you will see that there is not a centralized IT organization that is an umbrella over all of IT. Even at KU, we are more centralized than most. We still have pockets of those departmental IT staff that we have to work with. One thing I like to joke about is that part of my job is keeping KU's name out of the paper for the wrong reasons. And there is reputational harm that exists by allowing Slack defenses, and the risk of a data breach and exposing user data is what can cause reputational harm to the university. The ability to recruit and the ability to receive new funding opportunities is extremely important to us. A great deal of the university's funding comes from research, and to do that, you have to have a secure, available network that will be attractive to top-tier talent that want to use that network to do their research and to bring in that additional funding. Finally, we do have an education mission. We are a research university, but we have a large student body, around 30,000 students, and having a secure, available network is also essential to that, which was another thing that was really made clear to us during the pandemic when we went fully remote for a semester. That network has to be up, and it has to be fast and it has to be secure. Within IT and within just our information environment in general, we have just about every kind of data that you can think of. We do have classified information. We have recently moved into managing research that deals with controlled unclassified information, and we won't get into the details of those differences here, but we also have a great deal of other unclassified information. So student records, student academic records, student health records. We take credit cards, so we have PCI. Just about every type of sensitive data you can think of, we've got a pocket of it at KU.
Okay, so establishing a security program in a university, there's many similarities to any organization, but again, you know, the culture is very, very different than than industry or any government. So when I usually talk about this to groups, go into a lot of detail here. I'm just going to hit it on a couple key things on this slide. You really have to really know what your risk tolerance is and what that executive leadership guidance is from the top. In our case, it's the chancellor. And what it really comes down to is building partnerships across the university with various stakeholders and doing a really good, thorough risk assessment. And quite frankly, to me, one of the key areas, of course, is the information security and overall cybersecurity. If we can't have a network that's safe, secure, and trustworthy, we can't educate, we can't research, and we can't even pay people, you know, do all those other administrative type functions that occur in any organization. Julie.
So within that security program, we also are continuously improving our information security program. Having been part of from our information security program almost from the beginning, I can tell you that it can be a challenge to start up, and it is a constant process of building relationships, getting that executive buy-in, and helping the university understand, one, what's important to it, and two, how much protection it needs. Those partnerships outside of IT, again, with Carl's Global Operations and Security team, our general counsel, our human resources, internal audit, our chief financial officer are all people who will be key partners with an information security program and can help IT security tell their story and help the university community at large understand why it's important. Again, support is not one size fits all. Your researchers will need different kinds of support than your administrative users, and certainly different kinds of support than your instructional staff and your students. One thing that I think is really, really important to emphasize also is I think that there can be a perception of the Information Security Office as the Department of No. They're going to, people want to do things, they want to get their jobs done, they have a need to move information around, and one of the most important things that you do as an information security practitioner in a university is practice get you to yes. When someone comes to you and says, I have a need to do this particular thing, figure out a way to help them do that safely. Because I can guarantee if you just tell them no, they're going to find a way to do it anyway. And it probably will be in a way that is suboptimal when it comes to keeping that data secure. IT security or information security also has to be a key part of IT. That process that your IT department uses to bring in new projects, to stand up new services, information security has to be there from the very beginning. It is a surefire way to make a project fail or make a service be insecure from day one if information security is brought in at the tail end and everybody says, okay, we built it, tell us it's secure now. You've also got to make sure that your communicating with your stakeholders regularly in ways that they can understand. So having a communication professional available or having someone with that skill set to help you build that communication strategy is extremely important, because they have a lot of things on their mind. Your leadership is not just focused on IT or IT security, and communicating with them in a way that they can understand and in a way that gets across what's important is one of the most important things that your information security leadership and information security teams are going to do.
Sorry for interrupting you. Only 2 to 3 minutes left. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, go to the next one, Julie, if you could. So stakeholder identification is really critical. You know, I've mentioned that a few times. Julie has. I can't emphasize that enough, especially at the university, is building those key relationships, not only with executives, but across all these different organizations within the university. You want those partnerships. You want that force multiplier to be in there to really make your program go well. You also have to have external partners in federal and state law enforcement in the counterintelligence realm because of the risks to research. It's one of these things where as the person looking at security management in general, I can't emphasize enough how critical the information technology security is. A lot of universities and organizations across industry put their CISO, Julie, under a CIO. I'm not an advocate for that. I believe that CISO needs to be independent from the CIO, so they can actually not have undue influence on them, where if they have to say no, you can say no. We're very fortunate to have a supportive chancellor here. I work and report directly to him, no one in between, and it's really an important role. And to be able to have that information come from Julie right to him is really, I think, a critical aspect of our program. Go ahead, Julie. Let you finish up there so we get on time here.
Great. So integrating my program into the overall security program that Carl runs, again, we are key players in the Insider Threat Program. My team and I participate in training as well as regular meetings with that overall Insider Threat Program. We do have policies that work very closely with the policies that come out of Carl's office to identify risks and threats. And there are also from the other direction, our incident response team, our cybersecurity incident response team, has made Carl and his team an integral part of that process. So when we have a cybersecurity incident, the CIO and Carl are always my first calls, because there's always going to be factors outside of the network and outside of the data that Carl can speak to in a much more effective way than I can. And finally, my team is also responsible for performing access management activities. And when we are creating these network accounts for our guests, they're vetted by Carl's office. And from the other direction, if there is an issue with a guest or a visitor and their account needs to be deprovisioned right away, Carl's team reaches out to my team. There's no red tape. There's no, 15 other steps of verifications. We can just take care of it. And we've developed a fantastic working partnership in that way.
One more to go here.
Yep.
Go ahead, Julie.
Okay. Oh, great. Sorry. Some of our challenges just in the cybersecurity arena, we struggle to get current, timely threat TTP, so tactics, techniques, and procedures. Those sources are varied, and some come from the federal government, some from commercial sources, and both of those have their challenges in terms of timeliness and in terms of expense. You know, we are making great strides in building a culture that believes cybersecurity is important, but there are always people that you have to bring along that don't quite understand it or just don't agree that it's as important as it is. At a university, knowing what normal looks like on the network is very challenging because we have people from all over the world that use our network, that take our classes, that do research with us. And again, recruiting talent is especially challenging in cybersecurity as a whole right now, but it's challenging at KU just because, you know, we can't pay the kind of salaries that private industry does. And so we have to make the working environment a whole picture. It's not just about salary, and still recruiting it can be a challenge in that regard.
So that's it, Pavel. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for being with us today, even later. It's fine.
Sorry.
Really enjoyed, no worries. We really enjoyed your talk. It was awesome. It was cool to see how you do the cybersecurity at the university. And for the audience, this was the last presentation. Now it's the Q&A session. If you have any questions, please either post them here on the Teams chat or raise a hand on site in Bucharest, and maybe somebody will put the question on the chat for me to be able to read it. In the meanwhile, while the questions are coming, I have a question for Mr. Taylor, our last presentation. So let's talk about a concrete example. How do you do, after all, cybersecurity for such a big organization? How do you secure so many devices? In your presentation, you said that you have all sorts of devices and all sorts of people, from students to researchers, and your reputation is important as a university. So how do you protect this reputation?
It's really teamwork. Again, Julie and I have to have that close relationship because she's ultimately responsible for that security of all these different devices and the overall network. When I got here, you know, I just really felt that for everybody in this environment to really understand security, I need to go out and talk to folks. And when I had that stakeholder slide up, it showed the vastness of the people I involved. I mean, I got deans, chairs of departments where I spoke to them and explained, you know, why the office existed, what we need to do and why. Laid out certain risk or threat information for them specific to their programs. So that was really the approach initially, and then it was actually getting different information flows and tripwires in place so we would know where people were going when we had visitors coming in, looking at the research contracts to ensure that we're applying the right information security on those from a just purely technology and informational standpoint. And the other thing is just really getting to know the organization, know what's important to the university and those departments, and really look at that bigger picture of how they all feed into the overall mission and goals and objectives of the university. I don't know if you want to add anything, Julie, about the technical piece on that.
You know, on the technical side of that, it's a challenge because we do have that wide variety of devices that we have to secure, and we have a mix of centrally supported and non-centrally supported departments. We do offer our central management tools to those departments with a fair amount of uptake. So we are able to get a fairly standard set of controls and, you know, antivirus software and the different types of protection that we deploy out to those workstations. But it is a constant challenge, and it is a place where your IT security team can't just hole up in their offices and not talk to anybody. One of the most important things we do is communicate what those requirements are and why they're important out to the other teams.
Just one other key point I want to make is, again, working with our external partners, whether it's law enforcement, our sponsors, that really, to me, is, again, equally important to the internal stakeholders. The way the United States government does information flows to organizations is through the Department of Homeland Security. And they do provide us TTPs and other threat information that we then have to translate to the academic setting and actually make people understand it in a way where, you know, it's not scary to them. And I hear that word a lot here at KU about a lot of the work we do is scary. And having that flow of threat information is just so critical to being able to then apply in the university setting.
Okay, thank you for answering this question. Yeah, we have only 10 minutes left. Oh, the time flies. I want to also ask the other guests some questions because they all had a really awesome presentation. So, Mr. Filipov, I have a question directly targeted to 5G. I know you didn't necessarily talk about the technology itself, but about the cybersecurity contest. But my question is about 5G. So how do you view the future of 5G, especially in the context of artificial intelligence? 5G is the new cool kid in the town, you know, and also artificial intelligence is on the rise. So how do you view the next future threats, to say so?
Well, discussing this topic would obviously require, I mean, a lot of time. You just can approach it from different perspectives, and this is why we do these events. I mean, like this cybersecurity hack. I mean, just to bring new thoughts and initiatives and mix it up in one bag and just let the genie out of the bottle and see how it's going to work out. And so, like, just offering out of pocket, it will be hard. But yeah, and I just sort of invite other participants around just to come and participate in similar events. So it will help us to learn how to do this, how to combine two things, artificial intelligence and 5G. Obviously, that they have a lot of touch points, but yeah, we need to play together on this.
Yeah, I understand. So lots of things are still yet to be discovered, and through events like this, you stimulate basically the cybersecurity community to come up with various answers to this question. Okay, Mr. Badia, if you can hear me, yes, you're talking about the challenges of today's defensive approaches in case of incidents, and your talk was about Google and how Google can tackle this using its latest technologies. So again, I would like to bring up the artificial intelligence here. Are the threats with the artificial intelligence on the rise? What about APTs? How can you block such threats? Is Google ready? Are even the giant tech companies ready? Or how we can protect even our small companies?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. It's actually a complex one and a good one. I would like, as I'm representing SNT Romania, I want to put it in the context of the system integrator. So related to Google, yes, artificial intelligence is very important, and the way to hunt the threats and the way to respond to incidents, artificial intelligence should be an important part of all the mechanism. However, it is not enough. Many of the cybersecurity specialists nowadays are talking about actually the fact that we are having machine learning still, not artificial intelligence quite ready. And also to be in the context of Google, obviously it uses lots of machine learning and artificial intelligence techniques. Also, the two solutions that I presented from the Google portfolio and from cybersecurity Romania portfolio are using such ways to fill the gap and the complex challenges in terms of defensive cybersecurity. However, from the integrator point of view, I would like to mention that artificial intelligence is great to have it on the defense approach, but it's quite interesting to see how the offensive approach and the black hats are actually using artificial intelligence and how they automate all and target using artificial intelligence in order to get even better and to be even more hidden to when targeting some organizations.
Yes, indeed, defensive solutions based on AI are being developed right now. I already know some companies, but as you said, the offensive side is very interesting, and I want to see how artificial intelligence will play the role in this offensive and how next attacks or threats at the global scale will make use of machine learning and artificial intelligence domain. Okay, thank you for your answer. It was great to see your insight in this. And we have one more. We have time for one more question, but also if there are questions from on-site, please either post them on Teams or somebody from on-site to raise a hand or something. Okay, this question is for Miss Simona Hoancă. So regarding the exercising platforms you mentioned, I've seen recently multiple exercising platforms from the most well-known, to say so, like Hack the Box and so on, to companies specialized in this. So what do you think is more effective? Regular training, virtual training, maybe some policies, or actual red teaming, to say so, exercises, some more real practical stuff?
Pavel, from my side, I believe and I support continuous education and personal development. So from our side, we believe that individual trainings, along with customized trainings or already prepared training scenarios, will help each organization to basically improve their training capabilities and also relate with other cyber ranges from the community. Because, as I said, at the European level, the aim is to pool and share the existing training capabilities and develop this sophisticated, powerful platform. Everybody can benefit from it, starting from the student, your employee, that will be able to tackle all the challenges that they have in their jobs and in their real life by having continuous and simultaneous exercises and trainings on cyber combat or emulating their own infrastructure. Also, the organization can benefit from, as I said, a better HR selection. At the national level, if you have regularly, depending on the environment, military or private, if you have regularly trainings and exercises on pre-automated or customized training scenarios, it will help greatly to be prepared for real-time challenges. Why? Because the two key drivers that enable the growth of cyber ranges are, first of all, cementing cyber as a separate domain of warfare, and secondly, the widespread of cloud technology. Cloud technology basically enables the development of cyber ranges. It grows fast, as we all know. It can be flexible, so that's why we need to keep up with the times. And we have a saying also in the military world, why we build complex systems if nobody can use them? So regular trainings and exercises in our days are a must both for civil and military organizations.
Yeah, I understand. So a mix of them is always good. All right. I see we have only 2 minutes left. I want to wrap up. So thank you everybody for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you with us today. Do we have a question on chat? Let me see. Yeah, we have a question. So from Dragos. I'll read it out. Hope we can make it in 2 minutes. Hi, all of you. Just a known caveat. How see your interlocutors the fact here we have some different opinion regarding the common integration or interoperability between various parties involved in cyberspace? I mean, who has the supreme control in this field? Because at this moment, each institution in the public area, government especially, those in defense and public security, has a special policy regarding the approach of the cyber field and the defense mechanism, and are also very desperate. Okay, 1 minute, if somebody can answer this. Anyone?
Pavel, I'm not sure I understood because it relates to cyberspace and to what solutions or product, or it's a general concept. Or Dragos, are you here with us? No, I thought he was in the room. What do you understand, Pavel, from the question? Can you synthesize for us?
Yeah, so Dragos says, or he's interested in know who has the supreme control in the cybersecurity field. That's the main question. So is it the government or is it the private space?
This is Carl Taylor. I think it really has to be a team effort here. The government can't do everything. Institutions, businesses have to do their share of that heavy lift. So I don't think really any one organization in any country can do it themselves. It really takes us all, feeding in information to the system, pulling information out, and making sure that that's integrated. The cybersecurity is integrated into all your business operations and the things that you do as an organization.
I would just
Okay.
like to add the fact that
so this concludes our panel today. Thank you, everybody. Please stay on this Teams call because Mr. Duncan Pian will have the closing remarks right now. And it was great to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel.
Nice
meeting you all.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
luck.
you very much.
So you let us know when we are good to go for the closing.
Okay, so I got the green light for the wrap-up comments. So first of all, I would like to thank so much all of you, the participants, the panelists, the facilitators, and of course our sponsors and business partners that were very, very close to us, were very active during the day, today and yesterday as well. Also showcasing, explaining their solutions, their services, their products, the way they contribute and bring value added to the cybersecurity topic. Personally, I'm very pleased on how the certCON11, the 11th event of this type was going on yesterday and today. I think, to be very honest, that's a format, physical plus online, that is going to last for many, many, many years for similar events and similar type of gatherings and meetings with you guys. I have a couple of extra remarks that I would like to share with you. So to me it was very, very clear following the discussions I had yesterday and today that cybersecurity, it's a super hot, super sexy topic. Let me put it just like that. And the fact that we are in this business and we focus on it, it's one of the best career choices that one can have at this very moment. And it's a message in particular I want to convey to the youngsters, to the debutants, to the students that graduate this years. Please stay focused on cyber. Super interesting things are happening there. We see appetite for collaboration, for cooperation, for cross-border relationship, for bringing new solutions in the market, for working together with governmental bodies, with academia, with freelancers, with startups, and businesses of any kind, form, and shape. I think it's a really, really a good momentum that, at least in Romania, definitely we have it, with the creation of the Romanian National Cybersecurity Directorate, and with all the, let's say, activity that we see around with all those categories of stakeholders. But also we see a very, very important focus from an international level, from European level, and many of the speakers, of the panelists, clearly and abundantly highlighted this. And this is the only way to move forward in cybersecurity. We need to work with each other, although sometimes we are competitors, let me put it like that, for the private business. We have to share ideas, we have to grow as much as possible the pool of talent, of brains that we really want to use in our profession, because let's not forget, it's not the logos that are moving the things forward, it's not the legal entities that are moving, it's the people working there, the professionals like yourself, that really, really make things happen in the cybersecurity domain, day by day, week by week, year by year. And I will be very, very happy to talk to you next year and see that during those months, indeed, together, or in smaller groups, or in any way, form, and shape, we succeeded to move things forward, to create things, to implement many of the ideas and many of the projects and many of the initiatives that were presented over here. I would like also to ask my colleague Julian, the Deputy Director, to share with you a couple of thoughts around the event.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. Thank you for a big thank you to all the participants. That means all who have participated here in the rooms, all who have participated online, all the sponsors, all the representatives of the academia, all the employees of DNSC who have brought a lot of effort in organizing this wonderful event. And I was thinking, listening to Dan, that this conference, certCON11, but also the previous conferences, are the best image and the best symbol of what we want to develop in the new directorate. And I mean here the hub of cooperation between the private, the state, and the academia. Because we have had here representatives from the companies, we have had here representatives from the academia, we have had here representatives from different state institutions. And the result of this presence and of this cooperation and of this exchange of ideas, of solutions, of proposals and concepts, it's in fact building up and strengthening the cybersecurity. And also it helps very much in developing new ideas and new concepts in cybersecurity. What is very important is to understand, and it's our duty as a directorate and as a hub, because we have this obligation by the law, to make sure that this cooperation and this hub is going to be working as soon as possible, and to have everybody at the same table, and to make sure that everybody will have, the possibility to bring to the table the best ideas, and then to work together and then to build up together. Why is this important? Because at the end, what we need, it's okay, strengthening our cybersecurity, but also motivating and preparing and using and helping our human resources here to make them to develop them and to make them work in our cybersecurity field. With this, I want to thank you very much. I did not understand as everybody was looking there. I want to thank you very much again, and I wish you a very beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Let me, and I hope we'll make this a kind of tradition. So first of all, kisses to everyone, and there is a slide called KISS on the screen. Keep your information system safe. We wanted to put it on the screen because it's a very nice book and a very nice work of a professional organization, our colleagues from ISACA, that we wanted to use this opportunity to inform all of you that it's available, it's published, it's focusing on best practices and standards in the field of the red teaming, blue teaming, and pen testing, and emphasizing some practical aspects of such implementations in super nice and interesting sectors, like, for example, healthcare sector and so on. But we wanted to use the word KISS to really send kisses to all of you guys. And thank you again very much. And with this, I think we can wrap up and enjoy our networking discussions on the lobby. Thank you all, and have a great day.
Just one small thing. We already have this tradition because now I remember that 2 years, no, Cosmin, 2 years ago we have launched a book and also have made the white card of the education in cyber. So it's keeping the tradition, which is very good. Yeah. Thank you very much.